Yo.
What up? What up?
I almost forgot where the play button was on this shit or the record thing. Let's fucking go.
Dude, we got storms and shit going on over here, man. Gotta be missing time.
Yo,
This is bullshit, man. Let me tell you, I was stressed out at the house.
See, now you know how I feel, bro.
Yeah, man. I was feeling your pain, man, and I'm like, listen, this is and I just needed to get here today. And then I had not heard from you, and I had to hit you up and go like, yo, are we still on for tonight? Because I ain't hearing nothing from you, man. And so when you say yeah, I'm like, bet, man.
I just assume, you know what I mean?
I need to decompress.
I need to, but you guys don't understand how much of a therapy, how much money we probably save on therapy because we do this, or just how much the people in our lives don't have to deal with us being assholes. I mean. I take that back. I'm still an asshole. But
yeah, we're still assholes. Welcome back, everybody, to another week of the Carbon Footprint Podcast. He is Juan and I'm Sean, and every week we get together, have a few drinks, talk about things going on in the world, try to focus on things making an impact, whether they be good, bad, or otherwise. Hit him with the drink of the day.
Dude, we got a little something new this week that I have not tried before. I feel like I'm loud as fuck. Is that just me?
No, you're good.
The Old Paloma. So I'm calling it, and it's a cross between an old fashioned and a Paloma, which normally the Paloma is grapefruit and like tequila. So this is a super simple, not a lot of ingredients. I know we get shit sometimes for being a little too bougie with the drinks, but this is
simple.
It's so simple. Do a highball glass filled with ice, 2 ounces of bourbon. We're using the Woodford today, specifically Woodford from Total Wine, a Total Wine barrel. A dehydrated grapefruit for the garnish in there that I made. So I'm extra bougie.
Just get a grapefruit.
I'm being extra. No, fuck y'all. Y'all gotta dehydrate the grapefruit. I'm extra proud of these. So I've been in this bitch like Martha Stewart. Yeah, it's see.
Yeah, you are loud.
Yeah, so I'm like, bro, I'm annoying myself. There we go. Yeah, so 2 ounces. So highball full with ice. 2 ounces of bourbon. Be generous, about 4 or 5 dashes of Angostura bitters. Top off with grapefruit soda, which we're using something called Squirt, which feels very inappropriate, but that's what the soda's called. It's called Squirt grapefruit soda.
No Diddy.
No Diddy. Fucking. I think Diddy wouldn't have needed that baby oil if people could squirt. But and normally
wrong gender.
Yeah, I went there looking for Fever Tree's grapefruit because normally their grapefruit soda is really good, especially as a cocktail mixer. They didn't have it, so I had to settle for the Squirt, but it's good.
It's good. Yeah,
it's good. So 2 ounces of bourbon. Top off the Angostura bitters, top off the Squirt soda, garnished with dehydrated grapefruit, and then squeeze in a lime wedge. Just squeeze in the juice, drop it in there. It helps sort of offset.
Yeah, it makes a difference. I'm not sure why.
Yeah, it helps offset some of the sweetness, I think, with everything. But yeah, it changes it for whatever reason, even though it's like a little tiny bit. But it's so good. I don't know, I'm on like 57 of these already, but yeah. So good. I don't know how functional I'm going to be in the morning because the problem with these is it goes down like juice because they're sweet and smooth. But I don't know. We'll find out tomorrow.
Yeah. Let me know.
It's so good, and I've never done it. So an old Paloma because it's like a cross between an old fashioned and a Paloma. So with the bitters and the bourbon, obviously.
Yeah.
So yeah.
No, it's really good, man. All right, bro.
And also, I want to point out I have an energy drink up here. Because I have been told that I've audibly yawned on the podcast, so I'm trying to keep myself from doing this.
I hope I wasn't the only one that told you that.
It has now become like a complaint. No, I'm just kidding. No, you tell me. I'm like, all right, I've heard this enough now where I'm like, I got to keep myself awake because we start. You don't understand. Sean gets here on Wednesday, but we don't record until Thursday afternoon, basically.
We get like half a day therapy session.
And I refuse to turn the can around of the energy drink I'm drinking because y'all got to cut that check. Even though I guess if you drink this all the time, you know what it is. And then we have chocolate, which fuck the logo's on that side. Never mind. So you're going to hear me chewing, drinking all that shit, and so I can stay awake.
That's right. All right, man. Carbon Footprint this week is going out to, again, Mr. Elon Musk.
Fucking Elon is this might as well be his podcast.
God damn it. He's taking over the world. Fuck Trump. Fuck Kamala. Elon for president. God damn it. So his what is the name of the company? Why am I'm drawing a blank here?
Tesla, SpaceX.
No, SpaceX.
Yeah.
So this week, SpaceX, they basically landed a rocket booster back into its launching pad. I guess for lack of a better description.
Yeah.
And so you guys, for any of you who've been following this, you know, typically or before SpaceX, and maybe even when SpaceX was first started, you know, they would shoot rockets up, or even if you're thinking back to like the old gliders, you know, the boosters would always land in the sea, and then ships would go out there and grab the boosters and drag them back. Then SpaceX made it so that they could land these things on a ship out at sea. Now he is literally landing it back to where they can refuel and just launch again if needed.
Yeah,
like landing it to where it took off.
So where it took off from, which is like, you know, the next step in like sustainable and repetitive space travel.
Yes.
Sort of the way you would take a train or an airplane at the airport or whatever. You know, it's like, I think the expensive part of space travel has always been the rocket and the fuel and, you know, like the recovery effort, everything that goes along with that.
Right.
And he's, I geeked out over this, and I'm trying to show my son, and he's like looking at me like I'm crazy because I'm so excited showing him the video.
Right.
And he's looking at me like I don't
doesn't
understand what the
look
big
that
deal is.
impressive,
It
right?
doesn't. It doesn't. It's just a rocket going back on its thing, and you know he lives in this world where it's like, yeah, everything's automated, and you know there's not. And I what I told him was, I know this looks normal to you right now, but like it isn't. This is the first time this has ever happened. Like you're witnessing the first time this has ever happened, and when you're my age, this is gonna be the thing. This is going to be something that's very common, very normal, like just getting in your car and driving off. But understand that what you're watching now is the first time this has ever been done.
Right.
And I'm like, and I know you can't appreciate that yet, and maybe never will. But it's just because he's just like looking at me like, why the fuck are you so nerd? Like, why are you so excited about that? Yeah, right. And it's just,
dude. So what got me about this thing was watching the SpaceX. The workers of SpaceX watching this thing come down and literally cheering like they won a Super Bowl.
I can't even imagine.
Or the World Series or whatever you guys are into, like, your fucking World Cup, the, you know, whatever the case is, the NBA championship, like the video of these men and women and I love it too, man, because a lot of them were young. They looked like a very young crew of people, and I'm sure there was a mixture of it within the age group or whatever, but it was so cool to see almost like the entire company watching this thing, you know, obviously hoping it doesn't fuck up, and then it doesn't, and they are just like, yes, you know, they're like fucking
like you said, they were just celebrating.
Oh my god, man, I was like, to be, you know, it's one of those things of where, you know, when you, and I compare it to sports, man, because you watch, when you watch sports and you watch people and you watch teams win, like, you know, the championships, and you see like the happiness on one side and the tears, you know, grown men crying on the other side, like this was that for SpaceX and that team of people who are probably, you know, working probably long hours and just a lot of testing and whatever to have that come to fruition. So happy for those guys, and I'm glad they took a video of it and they posted it. I thought it was just fucking amazing, man.
Dude, it's funny, man. The first video I watched was the actual booster, you know, going back to the pad, but the celebration, the team was like a picture-in-picture frame of, you know, like a small square in the bottom of the screen.
Yeah.
But the audio was, and I can hear them screaming in the celebration, and I looked, and you know, you could see them jumping around, but it's like a really tiny. It made me go look up the video of them celebrating, and it gave me goosebumps because I was like,
bro.
man, the feeling, I can't imagine what it's like to be in that room, like with all these people you work with and you work with for a long time, and you have these theories, and you guys all have expertise, and you've run these calculations, and you're like, we think this is gonna work, and you go through the motions, and it's months or years, of development, and then this is the moment of truth, and then it fucking does what you think it's gonna. Oh my god, like not only that, I think it does what you think it's gonna do, but it also does what you think it's gonna do that no other humans have been able to solve. And it's just like, I think there's that creep of doubt where you're like, can we do this?
Right.
And then to see it happen, man, because like I don't care how smart you are. There has to be a part of you that goes, you can't think you're the smartest person that ever exists.
No,
you know what I mean?
definitely
Like,
not.
like Elon. I know Elon. There's a lot of controversial shit about Elon, whether or not the ideas are his or whatever. Like, say what you want. The execution has been carried out by him and his team and the people he employs and whatever. And I still think that there's got to be a shadow of a doubt in there to go, someone has to have figured this out before. Like, it can't, like, I'm running this, I feel like the math is right, but no one's done it. Like, am I that smart?
Dude, I think that him being on the spectrum, he's not afraid.
Yeah, he doesn't have
the right. It's not like he's not afraid of failure. I think that failure to him, and again, don't quote me on this. I haven't heard him say this or anything like that. But in watching him go through his multiple businesses and things that he's been able to accomplish, it's like not only is he smart, he's just not afraid to fail. Remember the when they were landing the rockets and they kept not landing, and they kept fucking up,
exploding or fucking up, or falling into pieces. Yeah,
they were one landing away from going bankrupt. Mm-hmm. And he was like,
and he said, "Run it back,
yeah, let's go."
Dude, and he's not. It's funny, man. Not to say that a lot of us are Elon Musk, but I think there's something to be said about you hear a lot of like these entrepreneur types say this, or maybe like these motivational speakers like a Gary Vee, where it's like, it's about the journey or it's about the chase. It's about like, and it's so true, man, because we all have that like sort of North Star or like that goal or that like that sort of keeps us motivated or inspired, and whatever that may be. And then if you think about what would you be if you didn't have those sort of like goals and aspirations, and like if you achieve those, like I think for most people you almost don't want to get there because it's like, what are you past that point? But he doesn't, like, to your point, it's like he has this like very sort of matter of fact, like, oh fuck it, I'll try it, I don't really care if it works or doesn't work. I'm not sort of like swayed by the failure of it because I don't care what people think. I don't care the success of it because I believe that it's going to happen anyway because it's so matter of fact in my head.
Right.
So I'm not impressed by it.
And I think that if it doesn't work, then I just clearly did something wrong. So I'll just correct that.
Tweak it.
And then, I'll tweak it and then we'll try again.
Yeah. It's such a, you might be right, man. I think the fact that he thinks the way, like that he's clearly, right, like obviously high IQ, but then also has a spectrum thing going for him where he's not sort of confined by the social restrictions that we put on ourselves. Because, like 90% of the problem that we experience are made up in our head. They're not existing, right, as humans. And he doesn't have that because he's not worried about, like, what are people going to think about me if this rocket blows up? What are people going to think if I can't pull this off and the company does go bankrupt? Like, he doesn't give a fuck because it doesn't even occur to him. He's just like, I want to put this shit into space because I think it'll be cool. Yeah. Like, that's all he, it's funny. Whenever they ask him something, I love the long interviews of, like, Joe Rogan because I'm like, what made you think of that? He's like, I don't know, I thought it was awesome. I saw it on Spaceballs. Like, why'd you shape your thing like that? I don't know, because it looks like a dick. I thought it'd be funny. It's like, that's like the most immature, matter-of-fact response ever. And it's so something, a guy would do, or to be like, no, make the rocket look like a dick. And then, Joe's like, oh, I thought it had something to do with like the ergonomics or whatever, the scientist. He goes like, no, I literally just thought it was funny. It was Spaceballs. Like, he's like, so I just did it. It's just like, how many people wouldn't, even if that was even a thought, how many people wouldn't have said that? It's just like, No, you're right, man.
And then on the other side of that, right, like the employees, I looked at them and I go, yo, we all want those moments, right? We all want to be a part of something, whether and a lot of us work, right? We have careers, jobs, whatever. we all want to be a part of something that we feel is special. It's just like, you know, when what's the movie Wolf of Wall Street?
Yeah.
When that scene when he goes, I'm not fucking leaving.
Yeah.
And everybody just fucking goes nuts.
Yeah.
Right? It's just, I think it was one of those moments of me watching that video and you go, I want to work there. Like, I want to be a part of that. I want to be a part of something that's meaningful. Right? To go home and go, yo, we fucking, like, you wouldn't believe the day that we had today. It fucking was, you know, or you get home and your significant other is like, oh my God, you guys fucking did it. And it's just like,
the celebration.
You know what I mean?
They
like,
know, yeah.
Dude, that, I love it, bro.
But I'm afraid of that.
Yeah?
I would, oh man, I have this idea in my head, or like these goals, the aspirations of things, right? Like that I want to achieve.
Yeah.
I don't know who I would be if I didn't have those things to chase. And so, like, I'm worried that, like, if I got them, I would feel complacent. So I'm almost like, I hope I never get there, because I want to stay motivated and inspired. Or like, I'm like, or do I find just the next thing that I want?
Just be the next thing.
Yeah, but I think the thing is that, like, what happens if the thing that you want is like, nah, if I get that, I've already accomplished everything else, and I'm down to this one thing, and if I get that, like, I'm great.
It's never gonna be.
I hope. See, and I think I'm one of those people who's never gonna be satisfied. Like,
you're not.
But I also have things that I go, I hope I just never achieve that, because I don't want to know who I'd be without having that North Star.
Gotcha.
Like, I don't know. I don't.
I feel like your North Star just changes, and I think that, you know, when. And we've all been there, you know, in some way, shape, or form, where you go, oh, like, here's the thing I'm chasing, and then you get there, and once you get there, it's not as special as you think it is.
Yeah.
And so this is why guys like Gary Vee will just go, yo, that's why you have to enjoy the journey. Like, the journey to get there, that's the fucking prize.
That's the fun.
It's not when you get there, because when you get there, it's just like, it's not that special. It's not like there's not this there's not, or there might be like a little party of like, oh my God, I got here, yay, celebration, and then it's like, okay, what's next? Where are we going to next? And your North Star just moves.
Dude, because, like, those people from SpaceX right now, right? Like, this is their goal for the last however many years, right? Let's just say it's a few years in the making. What now?
What do you mean, what now, man? Now we go to the fucking moon. You build a fucking base. Now you're going to go to Mars. Them now it's
right? like, it's like the victory was short-lived, and then now, like, the new goal. Bro, and it's just like you're always chasing.
Yeah, but that's a fucking Super Bowl. That's an NBA championship. That's a fucking World Cup, right? Like,
so in that case, it's like they haven't won their Super Bowl, right? Like, it's like,
they won it.
Now they got to do it again.
To me, it's like, you won a Super Bowl. Now go do it again. Now it's the chase.
See, I look at it as like, is it a diminishing return where you just go, I did that, like, and now I have to make up the next thing that I want, and it's like, it's not even what I really want. It's just that I got this, so now I'm like, all right, well, what else can I fill this? Like, I don't know.
I think for those guys, it's not that, because I would imagine, again, I don't work for SpaceX, I don't work for any company affiliated with Elon Musk, but I've heard enough of his interviews and read enough about him that, you know, the goal, like, the ultimate goal is like to get to Mars, right? To get to Mars, and then I think that he's kind of stopped there, but I think that he's probably thinking beyond that.
I'm sure, yeah.
But I mean, I think, so Mars is the North Star.
I think to him is because he can colonize Mars in this lifetime.
Correct.
Is what so he's like, in my lifetime, we can get here. But I hope that's the foundation for, you know, whatever the next thing is.
But so I feel like this rocket booster thing is just, it's a step. So we have to get these steps to get there. But that's a big fucking step.
Oh, no, it's massive. Dude, I was telling my son, I go, this is going to be the thing of why, you know, again, when you're my age, or, you know, you're 40, you know, 50, there's gonna be a landing station and a whole colony on the moon, and they're just gonna be taking trips to whatever the next planet is from there, you know, maybe Mars, and then it's just gonna be like, oh, you gotta be on the 5 o'clock rocket because the 3 o'clock one took off. I go, and that sounds preposterous to like 15-year-old me,
right?
But you know, you are, you know, or even 30-year-old me or 40-year-old me, I go, but you're 30, 40-year-old you is gonna be like, yeah, of course you can do that. Why? That's gonna be like waiting for the next train.
Yep.
You know, it's just, but that's not normal. Like today,
today.
It's not normal today. It will be, but it's not normal today. And what you just witnessed was the first step in that sort of, or the first major step in that, and like the proof of concept of that whole thing, man. Yeah, I was geeking out like a fucking dork, man, watching that video over and over, going like that's
it was
so
awesome.
It's just so impressive to watch, and the way, like, I think it was like the grace that it did it with too. It like attaches itself back. There was like no, because you would expect like it to go off and then like fucking just, like drunkenly just fucking rattle its way back in and knock over the tower or some shit like that, but it literally just like attached itself like, oh yeah, I belong here, let me just like snap back in. It was so impressive, man.
Congrats to that whole team in SpaceX, man. That was just it was a phenomenal achievement for those men and women.
Yeah, man, shout out to them, dude.
Yeah, man. I think, dude, let's skip the rest of this. Let's go into Hurricane Milton.
No, you don't want to do no more Elon stuff? All right, let's go. Hurricane Milton was I guess it depends on where you lived in Florida.
Where you live in Florida.
It could have been catastrophic. And then for some people was like, I guess luckily it wasn't much, considering sort of the forecast of what it could have been.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So for those of you who don't live here in Florida or in the U.S., I mean, that will pay attention, right? Hurricane Milton came basically through the Gulf. Freaking... Dude, that thing sped up to a Category 5, like really quickly.
Is it the quickest ever? Right? Like 24 hours or something like that.
Yeah. And they were, and I saw articles of just like, should we create a Category 6 because this thing was like really like that strong, right?
Oh damn.
And dude, I gotta say, man, like. So I was watching. I know we talked about this before, or you had mentioned that you weren't really watching the news and stuff.
No,
dude, I was watching this because for me, not only do I have like my immediate family, right, my wife and kids, I have like my mom, who's in her 70s. I have my in-laws who are in their 70s, and dude, I gotta say, man, my stress levels were high.
Yeah,
okay. They really were. Like last week, because I was
so chill, bro, because I watch no news.
Good for you, bro. Good for you. I was like, how am I gonna I'm like, am I gonna have to evacuate my like entire family? And it's like, okay, well then what? Like, how do I prepare here? And then I'm talking to both sort of like my mom and my in-laws. And both of them are just like, yeah, like, I'm just going to stay. And they're just like, no, if it's Category 5, you're not fucking staying. You're getting in my car and we're leaving and then we'll just come back. I go to my mom's house, bro. And I tell her, I go, hey, if this thing stays a 5, like, we're leaving. And then she goes, no, I'm going to stay. Like, I'm good. And I go, no, you're not. Like, you're going to leave. And she goes... And so we live in Central Florida. We've never. So we lived here since, let's just say, I think since 1988. We have not experienced a Category 5 in Central Florida.
No. Yeah.
Right? She goes, oh, we've been through Category 5 before. And I go, Mom, no, we haven't. And she goes, yeah, I drove to work in it. And I'm like, Mom, I go, no, you didn't.
I promise you didn't drive.
Like, no, you didn't.
Maybe she did, bro.
No, bro. She was. You know what she was talking about? She was talking about when Andrew hit South Florida.
Okay, which one was that? I don't know if I was.
Andrew was the one that destroyed Homestead.
Okay.
This is in like
90s?
early 90s.
Okay, yeah, I wasn't here for
early
that.
90s. Okay. It fucking destroyed, like it flattened Homestead.
Okay.
She had her dad lived down there, and he had drove up. So she proceeds to tell me, "Oh yeah, that's when Papi drove up here, and he was telling me, that I shouldn't go to work." And I'm like, "Yeah, Mom, like we got the outer bands of Andrew. We got none of that.
Yeah,
shit.
Right. Yeah, you didn't get the actual.
Yeah,
hurricane.
that was we did not get a fucking 5. Like you're gonna pack. I go. Listen to me right now. I go, if I tell you we're leaving, you're gonna fucking pack a bag and you're gonna get whatever important paperwork, whatever the fuck you need, and I go, have your shit ready.
You know what's wild, bro, is that obviously like we have at some point you become the parent to your parent. There's like an age there or a level of common sense or whatever, like something shifts in there where you're like, oh my god, now I have to parent my parent because shit like that. It's just like, no, you're not staying. Like I gotta, it's hilarious. I don't know when that shift happens, and I'm sure it's different for everybody, but there's a point in time where you're like, oh fuck, I'm the adult. You know, we're all in trouble.
Yeah, right? Like, listen, Mom, we're in the stage of our life where I know better.
And that's not good for either of us.
I know as a teenager, I thought I knew better, but now I actually do.
Bro, I drove in it as wild. They don't make them like they used to. Your mom was built different. She probably did.
Oh man, dude, that shit was up. But how'd you guys fare out?
Fine.
Yeah,
dude, it's just
it was good here. It was good in Central Florida.
Yeah, we're fine.
And I'm really referring to like in the middle of the state, like Orlando, Kissimmee, like
I slept through that whole shit.
So that we actually got up at 4 a.m. because I wanted to see how bad it was outside. So I walked outside, felt the wind. Again, I think we got like a 1.
Yeah,
I think it was maybe a category 1.
Yeah, and again, we got lucky here, obviously, but dude,
very lucky.
To the point you were saying before, like I didn't. All I did was look at the hurricane on Google Maps and just looked at the path, and that was good enough for me because you can see where it was and you can sort of plan it. Like again, once you've been here long enough and you see like you said, the outer bands, you're like, oh, that's just all I'm getting. Or hey, if I'm right in the middle of the eye, like this is about to get wild. Or like
right.
Without the hysteria of listening to the news tell me what I should or shouldn't do, I think, I don't know, it just allowed me to be much calmer in the situation. And I also feel like plan accordingly, like in a more appropriate way, because I was just looking at it and my experience living here told me like, oh, this is going to be okay. Like, and then obviously, like, again, depending on your infrastructure and where you lived and whatever, like it changes, but comfortable enough where I knew like, oh, I'm not catastrophic, not going to be, something that I should really worry about in my specific area, like where I live. But dude, I was in a family group chat and I had to fucking mute it because they were just so hysterical. And I'm like, just stop watching the fucking news. I got family buying water. They don't know why. I got family fucking, like stocking up on batteries and all this other shit, which I'm like, okay, yeah, like you should have some flashlights and some candles, but then some of them are buying water and they don't know why they're buying water. And it's just like, you never once need, it's just like.
And they weren't the only ones, right? You go to the grocery,
you go to the grocery store. Everybody does, but nobody knows why they do it. Ask them why they do it, bro. And I promise you, most people won't know why they're doing it. Like,
so like for me, like we have a well, right? And so if I lose electricity, then I lose water.
Makes sense.
But I didn't go fucking buy water. You know what I did? We have like jugs and containers.
Also, you have like 15,000 gallons of water in your backyard.
Literally, I think we filled up like, let's just say like 5 gallons of drinking water and stuck it in the fridge. And we go, that'll be what we drink.
What do we think is going to happen? We're going to be trapped indoors with no access to water? It's falling out of the fucking sky at a rate higher than what we can. It's just like, I think we're going to be fine.
I was just happy because it said, after the hurricane comes through, some dry air is gonna come through and fucking and get rid of this 90-degree heat.
Oh, dude, the day after a hurricane is always the most beautiful day of the year. Always. And now we get this nice cold front for the next couple of days. It's amazing. Absolutely. Yeah, this is the time of year that people move to Florida. It's never in August. It's like right now.
Yeah.
Where it's fucking 70s, 75, 60s at night. Or the day after a hurricane, you always get the best weather ever. It's phenomenal. Yeah, I think that's like the universe's way of going, hey, go clean up now. You can be comfortable.
And dude, I'm gonna lose. So like behind my house, we have woods. And it recently got bought by one of the major developers in the area, and they're gonna put some homes in this shit, right? And so typically those woods serve as like blockers for like any kind of like storms and shit, man.
Oh, so, really?
Yeah. Like it has to cut through those trees to kind of get to me.
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying. It's
like if it's coming.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Okay.
So if it's coming from the west. those trees kind of block it, right? And so the developer bought it recently, man, and so I've over the last couple of weeks I've been watching them level like this land. It's like I want to say it's like 13 acres of land.
Okay.
And they're leveling them, bro. I was bothered, and I'm not a tree hugger, bro, but like when I'm going down there, I was like, yo, like humans don't give a fuck.
We don't, but don't they?
Nope.
I might be wrong.
Whatever you gonna say, nope.
No, I was gonna say I thought they had to replant as many as they knocked down.
Where?
I don't know what the where is, but I think you do. I'm almost positive you have to like replant or something in certain counties or cities.
Pretty sure Nana can send me.
No. You got to put up an auto zone for every 15 trees.
That and a NASCAR.
All the fucking Puerto Ricans are like, papi, they took my trees. And he's like, yo, they put up an auto zone though. Ah, okay.
But bro, so me and I was walking my dog, right, and my son is with me, and I'm walking through there, and I'm talking to him, and I'm going like, yo, like I actually feel bad, like this is life that these guys are just destroying. Like we don't, like humans don't give a fuck.
No.
And then my 17-year-old son goes, Papa, people kill people for money. What makes you think that they wouldn't kill trees?
that's
and I was like,
it's accurate.
And I'm like, that's the most profound thing I ever heard you say.
That might be the most profound thing I've ever heard anybody say.
You're gonna be all right. It was at that moment that I realized my son, at least this one, is gonna be all right.
You like your brothers ain't got a shot. But you're gonna be okay, buddy.
Be all right. I was worried about you.
That is pretty profound, bro. That's amazing. He's so fucking right though. When you think about it, no, you know, I know I'm fucked up because I don't give a shit about the earth. Like the person that has FOMO in me hopes this shit fucking disintegrates the day after I die. Whenever people are like, oh, you know,
goddamn selfish.
Yeah, fuck these people, bro. Whenever anybody's like, oh, don't you want it to be good for like your grandkids, your great grandkids? I'm like, I don't know those motherfuckers. No. What if my grandkids are assholes? Fuck them.
They don't come visit me anyway.
Yeah. I'm like, I don't know them. I've never met them. I'm like, I don't have that attachment yet.
It's funny that you say that, man. I was with my mom yesterday and today. And she was talking about that. She was just like how cool it was to become a grandmother and now to become a great grandmother. She was like, yo, like it's.
Oh, that's right. I didn't realize. I forgot your mom did just become a great grandmother. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
And she was talking about that, and she was just like, yo, like it's a weird yet really cool like feeling.
Yeah, man. Yeah, because I have grandparents, obviously, in my family, like uncles and stuff, who are, you know, all like becoming grandparents. And it's funny, they're all like ecstatic about being grandparents, and they're and they have like the most fun and doing, you know, and they've all said like, you know, it's like having kids again, except you don't have to deal with the responsibility.
Do you not think about that with your own kids? Have you ever thought about that? Of just like, yo, like my kids are gonna have kids, and like what that would be like?
Not. Like, yeah, like it, briefly, yes. I don't think I've thought about it in depth to where, would I like to be? Yeah, like absolutely. Like I would love to have that fun. Like I love kids, right? Like I would have had fucking 20 kids, you know, like, but I've never really thought about it in depth. I feel like as they get older, I probably will. Yeah. Like, you know, when they start getting closer to that age where I'm like, oh fuck, it's a possibility, and I think I'm gonna. I know for sure I'm gonna be 1,000% that grandfather who's just gonna be like, let's fucking go. Like I'm gonna be like bring them over. Yeah, let's go do shit. Like I'm gonna want to do stuff just because like I'm like that with the kids, right? So like I know I'll be that, and then the part that I can just give them back when they turn into a pain in the ass afterwards is gonna be amazing.
It's gonna be amazing to get them, amazing to get rid of them.
I can have all the fun. And then hype them up on sugar, do all the crazy shit, and then be like, gotta go home to mom. Or that, like, it's gonna be great. But like, certainly I've thought about it in terms of like just like the conceptually, but never like with my kids and that far like at advance as far as like, man, I wonder what that's gonna be like to have them. It's just like kind of surface level. But I think as they get older, I will sort of get down that. Now, seeing like my uncles who are like in their 50s now, or sorry, like late 40s, early 50s, all become grandparents, and seeing them, I'm like, oh, and they're all like awesome, grandparents. They were all like, my uncles were all like pretty awesome dads, and like great uncles, and also, so like watching them do it, I'm like, oh yeah, that's gonna be
awesome.
Like yeah, it's gonna be fun. Like they're having like a blast. They're doing it. They're treating it like if it was their kid. And I know that's what I 1,000%. That's gonna be me. I'm gonna be fucking financially, the fun part, all of it. Like I know that I'm gonna be all in on that for sure.
It's awesome, man. I thought about that. I have late teenage boys, and no, I'm not. I do not want them to have kids right now.
Put it out there, man.
But I know that when they do, I think it's gonna be cool.
You don't have any yet.
Well, I'm only half Puerto Rican.
Yeah, but you also have black.
I'm Caribbean black.
They late bloomers. Oh wait, that's worse. You're Caribbean black, bro. That's fucking worse. You should have had 15 grandkids.
I'm behind the power curve.
Bro, one time I was talking to somebody, and I forget what it was. We were talking about it was almost like habits or whatever of black folk and all that. And they were like, well, I'm not plantation black. I'm Caribbean black. We're built different. I was like, God damn.
You're like, no, actually, it's the same.
Whatever it was, though, made so much sense. I was like, oh, fuck.
Oh, that's awesome.
This is amazing.
Let's get into Trump. Was it this week or last week? Was on the podcast Flagrant.
Yeah. Last week. Yeah. One of my favorite podcasts, obviously. Like I love that group. Akash Singh, Andrew Schultz, Mark Gagnon on there, Alex Media. One of my favorite podcasts, and I think too. For me, one of the parts that's really cool is I've been listening to that podcast since those guys are basically doing what we're doing. Like they were like
in a room with
nobody. They're doing, at one point they're doing it in a different location every week because they don't have like a set place.
Right.
It was awesome. It's like a very, obviously, again, it's just friends hanging out, and it started off as a sports podcast and all that. And to see them,
it was a sports.
It was a sports. That's why it's called Flagrant too. It was like a sports, but they would
Makes
talk
sense.
shit with it,
Yeah,
and then eventually it morphed into more of sort of like pop culture and that sort of thing. But to see those guys, man, I think interview. I don't care who it was, man. A presidential nominee, a former president. That's cool for any podcast, man.
Yeah,
I don't care if it's fucking Kamala Harris or Donald Trump or whatever. Like, to get to the level where a presidential nominee or a former president even goes on your podcast feels like you're relevant enough to even be on your podcast.
That's it right there, bro.
It's fucking amazing. So, like, in some ways, I'm feeling like I'm watching like friends of mine, even though I've never. Mark Gagnon is from Orlando, like the sort of comedy scene here. So, like, that, they poached him from here. I think he opened for one of them once and sort of has been with the group since.
That's dope.
So it is cool. He's kind of like one of the guys we cheer for here, I think, in the sort of the local Orlando scene. But like watching those guys do that, like go from doing it in different places week to week to interviewing a president, was fucking surreal. Like it was cool to watch.
That's cool.
The other part that I liked was that they were respectful of the position in sort of like their interactions with him, but they didn't change who they were. They were still giving him shit. They were still making jokes. I also thought that they did a good job of pressing back or asking questions without making Donald Trump defensive. And so then in a lot of ways, I felt like I got the best version. I was disappointed in the Donald Trump that I got, but I felt like I got the best version of Donald Trump I've ever seen in terms of the human.
And not for nothing, they did call him out several times when he would dodge questions. Mm-hmm. And they kind of made it like a joke where it was just like, oh yeah, so you're like evading this question.
So, but I think the way that they did it,
it wasn't like confrontational.
It wasn't, and so what it did was it didn't make him defensive.
Correct.
So where you didn't get a good interview or it forced him to answer the question, and then it forced him to have a good time with it too. Like, which I was like,
or he would kind of joke about avoiding it.
Right. He would go like, yeah, I am avoiding it.
Yeah,
and
right.
Then,
He was just kind of straight up with it. Yeah.
And I think so much so to like, at one point they had to cut the interview. They were cutting it. And he was like, no, I like these guys. Like, let's stick around. And I went, dude. And I think I wasn't the Donald that I thought I would get because I'm like, oh, with these guys, this is going to be fucking hilarious, right? And he had funny moments.
Oh, yeah.
But I just don't think we're seeing the same Donald that we've seen in the last like 5 years or whatever anymore. Or 5 to like 10 years really. But I think we saw the most human version of him that I've ever seen on anything ever. Like, even there was a question out of the gate about his kids, and it was like the most sincere response I've ever seen him give about his, like, I expected him to take the braggadocious, like, you know, they complimented him basically on his kids, and like, just in short.
And not for nothing, man, his kids are all successful, bro.
Yeah, he goes, and I think that's what it was. It was like, hey, man, like, you're a billionaire. Your kids have grown up as billionaire kids.
Right.
Like, for the most part, you don't have any drug addicts. They all seem to like you, which is, I think, is the most important thing. It was like, they all seem to like you, which how many rich kids do you know, not billionaire, like how many people do you know who have come from successful parents who hate their parents? And then it's like,
or unsuccessful parents.
Or hate their parents. But it was like, hey, your kids all really seem to like you except for the fat chick. And then it was like I can never remember her name. The chubby daughter doesn't like him. but it was like, yo, your kids all seem to like you. They don't seem to be lazy. You don't have any drug. Like, I know people talk shit about Donald Jr. doing coke or whatever. Everybody done coke. I don't give a fuck about that. He's not like an addict where he's like out on the street. You know, like.
I just want to go on record saying I haven't done coke. Keyword is yet.
So like, it's not like I guess their whole point was like, yo, you don't have any shithead kids,
right?
You don't like, and I think people will like argue that, and it's like, no, you don't like them, but it doesn't make them shithead kids, right? Like Ivanka seems to be a smart, you know, like has done some stuff with her platform. You don't have to agree with it, but has done whatever she can. You know, isn't out there just like selling makeup or whatever. Like she's like legitimately running businesses and making policy decisions and whatever. Donald Jr. same thing. Like,
who was it? Was it Donald Jr. that they said that they were like, oh, like he's like good looking guy?
No, it's the youngest one. It's Barron.
Oh, that's what it was. So he's like good looking guy running around in New York, got all this money. Like, do you really want to do the Roe v. Wade thing right now?
Yeah, which I thought was a great way about asking him about Roe v. Wade.
Yes.
It was like you lead it with a joke. It was like, hey, you overturned Roe v. Wade. And I think the defensive way to ask that question would have been, hey, what the fuck is up with you overturning Roe v. Wade?
Right.
It was like, yo, you bring up his son, you set it up as a joke, and now he's put his guards down. He gets a little chuckle, which Donald never fucking laughs. Like, he didn't even laugh on this. He just sort of does the like smile thing, and like he never fucking laughs. But then it sort of he puts his guard down and he answers the question.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, whether I agree or disagree with his question, it made me understand his stance more.
Dude, I already knew what his stance was before that, right? And it's not that I agree that Roe v. Wade should be overturned or you know, like at the federal level,
right?
But I could make an argument to go let the states.
Yeah, I think right,
because he's going, hey, like I don't like abortion. However, it shouldn't be a federal mandate. Let the states handle it.
Yeah, like it wasn't like in defense of his like decision to overturn that policy. It was more of like I can understand how he came to that decision, instead of before it was more of like a, hey, what an asshole, he overturned Roe v. Wade or whatever. It was like, oh, I can see how you came to that. I may not necessarily agree
with it, right?
But I can see the reasonable, rational response of how you got to that. And also, when they pressed him on well, what about all these other things? And he was like, well, you know, like whether it was like the term limits, whether it was IVF. He goes like, no, but I want that. And he was able to go in depth, which is what I like about, dude, I'm so over listening to anyone do an interview on Fox News or CNN or ABC or any of this shit. Like, I go, the podcasts that have no time constrictions, that don't have an agenda to push to us. I'm like, I like this because I can hear whatever candidate actually give me a response. And whether I agree or disagree, I can go, okay, now I'm informed. I know where you actually stand. Yep. And then I can go, hey, I still disagree, but I understand how you got to that. And I can respect you, or respect your opinion, at least as a person, which is what I thought. You know, they pressed him on that. They pressed him on a couple of other things where I went, hey, your response makes sense. I don't agree, but now I can sort of get to how you got to where you got to.
Yep.
When I asked him about his assassination, again, I thought he would take the very braggadocious, and he took his little moments here and there, like because he can't help being
had
himself.
Some of those.
But I thought it was aside from people being like on Joe Rogan, it's funny, man. I listened to that and I went, man, this was disappointing compared to what I had in my head, but it was good enough to where I went, if people listen to this, it might actually change. I'm not necessarily saying their vote or that, but I go, I think if you felt a specific way, especially about policy when it came, to Donald Trump, I think you left that going, like now I'm not so sure, because his explanation, while I disagree with the policy change, the explanation, I can see why he got there. And so now I'm kind of forced to be like, well, now I got to think about this or look some stuff up.
He wasn't being, like you said, I think that he's able to let his guard down because he wasn't being attacked.
Right.
And he wasn't baited into anything. He wasn't being attacked, and he was just able to kind of like just state what he believes in and what his policies are, or what he hopes his policies to be. And the same thing in respect to the other podcast, All the Smoke, which is 2 former NBA players, right? They did Kamala Harris,
which I saw her on Call Her Daddy too.
Oh, and I didn't.
I didn't listen to it. Okay. I'll tell you why I didn't listen to Kamala. Kamala to me comes off, and again, this isn't an endorsement or an anti-Kamala response. Listening, because Donald Trump isn't a sort of trained politician, if you will. I know he's been in the spotlight for a long time, and so he does sort of have media training, quote unquote. But you can't tell Donald what to say and what not to say. Now, there were certainly responses in his interview where you went, someone clearly told you, hey, stay in this lane, don't try to
But he clearly has triggers.
Yes,
that can take him left or right, right?
Exactly.
Right, yeah.
Kamala is going to give you the scripted response to everything, even the things that try to humanize her. She will give you the response where I feel like, I think you're full of shit. Now, you may be trying to come off as sincere, but I feel like everything is a scripted, hey, if they ask this, here's how you respond. If they ask this, and so I think what turned me off about listening to any of hers were she's so media trained because she's been, an AG, and because she's been a senator, and because she's like that, I go, I'm not going to get a genuine Kamala interview. Donald doesn't give a fuck about the politics thing. And so like you said, I go, someone can sit with Donald and go, hey man, stay away from this, stay away from this, stay away from this, like beat this home, beat this home, beat this home. But then there's trigger words, but then he can't help himself and he just fucking takes off. And that's what you're hoping for usually with Donald. It's like, hey, I want someone to trigger, set him off. I go, Kamala is, if she's not being attacked, she can sort of stay on message, on script, if you will. And so I never feel like I'm getting a genuine response from her. Even like I saw the shit on Oprah, the clip where she's like, oh, I'm sorry, if you break into my house, you're getting shot. Yeah. And it was so cringy because I go, it felt like a planted, sort of rehearsed.
Oh, like, you think so?
Absolutely, bro. Because I go, if you're a left candidate, I don't care who you are, especially if you're Kamala Harris, who's looked at as a radical left, people are going to go, who are you trying to? You're trying to get that middle crowd. Maybe you're trying to sway a little bit of the people who are on the fence, who may be right leaning. And then what better way than to like go, hey, like I'm pro gun, which, dude. Speaking of that, I didn't know Donald wasn't a gun guy. And I thought it was very ballsy of him to admit on the podcast that he goes like, when they talked about his shooting, he goes like, hey, I'm not a shooter. I don't know shit about guns. I'm not a gun guy. I don't like, my sons were all telling me all this, they all hunters and all this, and they were all telling me whatever about the shot and how I should have, whatever, how easy it was to hit, basically talking about his assassination attempts. And I thought it was very ballsy for him to be like, I'm not a gun guy. As a fucking Republican candidate to go, I'm not a gun guy. I was like, kind of ballsy. Probably didn't mean to, but I go, but that's the whole point of listening to you is like, you don't fucking think about what you're going to say. You just say the first thing that comes to your head, which is usually authentic. Whether I like it or not, I'd rather get the authentic response. Where Kamala, I feel like she's going in her head and going, how was I supposed to answer this question? Oh yeah, it's this. How was I supposed to answer it? I just never feel like I'm getting a genuine response from her.
I will say, so I did listen to the All the Smoke, and I also listened to a portion of, she did a town hall with Charlamagne the God.
Okay.
And one of his first questions was like, it's kind of what you said, which is like, hey, like, it kind of comes off like your responses are coming off as scripted. And her immediate response to that was, yeah, that's discipline. And I gotta say, I see your face there, but I gotta say, discipline is really important in life.
Oh, I'm not saying, and as a presidential
so,
candidate, it's absolutely important.
Yes.
No, she's not wrong. Yeah.
And so, what I will say from listening to at least 2 to 3 of her interviews, she is very disciplined on the things that she is focusing on.
Yeah.
Right. And there's let's just say there's like 4 things that she's in every interview you're gonna hear it. And what she said in one of those interviews was like, yeah, like, a matter of fact, it was that one. And she goes, yeah, you do hear me say the same things. A, because I'm disciplined, but B, because people need to hear things, 2 to 3 times until it sinks. And I'm trying to get my point across that these are the big issues that I stand for. And where I liked about the town hall was that he brought in a business owner, he brought in a reverend, and he brought in some other, there were like several other like sort of questions and maybe like recorded questions, just from regular people. And dude, she answered them pretty well. And I didn't feel like she was bullshitting. So it kind of gave me, like I said, I feel like it gave me a good feel for her. I would have to say, man, like, if you're looking at the U.S. as a business, right, or as a company, and you're hiring a leader, for me, she came off better. But I did like what I heard from Donald Trump as well, and I like how he dispelled a lot of it. Like, I fucking hate all of the commercials.
Oh, yeah.
All of the, both sides.
Yeah.
Like almost like criminalizing
they just take
the other.
clips and
it's
then,
all
it's
all like fear mongering.
It is,
man. Like, and so I thought both sets of interviews that I watched kind of dispelled all that fear shit, and it was just like, oh, okay, yeah, that's kind of what I thought. I'm glad I heard it from both sides.
And here's the thing, like, for Kamala, again, I'm not one of those people who's, to your point about the fear mongering, I'm not like sort of biting into the narrative based on a commercial or like a CNN spot or a Fox spot. Like Kamala Harris, I go, yeah, she's gonna sound more presidential. Like I know that, right? Like she's gonna sound intelligent. She's gonna be eloquent on how she speaks. She's she's articulated, well educated. Like nothing. Like when I look at her, I go, yeah. If you're looking at these two people and going, which one's more presidential? Kamala Harris is more presidential than Donald Trump. The thing that kept me from listening to her with Charlamagne the God is like I've heard him say, I'm voting for Kamala Harris. So now I'm going, oh, this is a softball interview. You're already biased. Like I go, no, I want to hear from someone who's unsure who they're voting for. I want to hear from someone who's not like, I think with the guys from Flagrant, what I, obviously aside from the fact that I really like them is I like the fact that I was impressed with, they're not known to be interviewers, right? They're known to bust balls and be them. And so like, I felt like them making the joke, like they asked them about Elon and Elon does that. And then following it up with, is Elon your favorite African-American? First off, fucking brilliant joke, but then immediately like disarming, Donald, like it's like I want to hear from people like that. Like I want to see Kamala Harris in an environment like that. I think the thing is that like I already know what I'm getting from her and I know what I'm getting from him.
Yeah.
What I want is like for you to be in an element that's uncomfortable for you, and I want to see how you respond to that. Like I know, like I like listen, the people who are voting left and are voting right, you're not changing their mind with these interviews, right? Like if like the thing is, it doesn't matter, and so like. To me, it's more important that I go, no, man, I want to get you off your game. I want to put you in a circumstance where maybe you're not the most comfortable, or you don't know what to expect, or where you can't sort of like follow your script. And then I don't want to see you go there. I want you to go into an interview being like, I don't know what I'm going to get out of these guys. Like, I don't know if I'm going to get friendly or mean or whatever. And dude, Andrew Schultz, man, had the best pushback. And the way he did it was when Donald made a comment about like, I want to make our country great again.
Yes.
It was exactly the fucking best response. He goes like, I don't like when you say that.
Yeah. And he goes, America is great.
America is great. Yep. And then he proceeds to tell him why he thinks America is great.
Yep.
And to the point where Donald goes like, bro, I see your point. Like I've never seen Donald even like sort of back down from a stance to the point where at the end of it he goes, well, I didn't even want to make it MAGA. I wanted to make it, whatever else, like CAG or whatever the fuck he's called.
Yeah.
He's like, but and he gives him a reason or whatever. But like I've never even seen him like. It's almost like he persuaded Donald out of his own thing, like in that interview. And it was such a good way of doing it. Like, obviously, it was an eloquent response. Like, I thought it was a beautiful response in terms of, like, he's like, hey, man, I think America, and he's absolutely right. You can be the best version of yourself in America, like, across the world, right? Like, no matter where you're from, it's like America allows you sort of the opportunity to be the best version of you. And I felt like that was a beautiful way to sort of describe that. And so, like, he's telling Donald, he goes, like, so when you say make it great again, like, I'm offended by that because I think it is great. I think, like my mom was an immigrant from Scotland or whatever. Like, and he goes into the thing, he's like, so I think it's already that. Like, and he gets Donald to go, like, I just think it's trending in the wrong direction. And he goes, like, well, that's a different argument. It's like but you can't say I want to make it great again because it is great. You can say, hey, like I feel like it's slipping away, and I'd like to get us back on track to like what we were, what we can be, make us, and like by the end of it, he almost had Donald going like, yeah, you're right, like whatever. But I felt like anyone else, if that comes from a moderator in CNN, it gets defensive, it gets contentious. Correct. You don't get a genuine, heartfelt response, which is I felt like what you got from both sides. Like I felt like you had a very heartfelt, emotional response from Schultz because obviously it means something to him and his family, sort of like history. And then you got Donald to sort of be like, yeah, like I can empathize with what you're saying. Like, yeah, but like, and he gave him a response, and I was like, oh shit, like that was and I think it was important because like the MAGA is such a big. Like, right, it's an iconic, I mean, to the point where people talk about MAGA being its own party, right? Like, it's a very iconic
It is very
phrase.
iconic, but there's people, right? So on one side, you go, yes, let's make it great again. And on the other side, you go like, well, when the fuck was it great? Like, my people have struggled in the past, right? So, like, is that when you think it was great? You want to take it back to there? So, like, it's misconstrued, right, on both sides.
Right, and really. So the way Schultz worded it was like, hey, I'm immediately disarming you because I'm not going, hey, do you want it to be great like back when minorities didn't have a chance or whatever, like, which is where people normally go, and it immediately makes it combative.
And he didn't go.
No, he was just like, bro, I think this is great, and here's why I think this is great. And then he goes, so when you say that, I feel like, it is like an insult to XYZ, and it almost left it like where Donald went, yeah, fuck, those are good things. Like, and so maybe what I mean is like, I want to get us back going in that direction because I feel like it's getting away from that. And it's like, well, that's a different argument than make it great again, and it's like, that was like the most important part of the whole thing to me because I went, man, you took the guy's slogan and the thing that he ran off of, and you sort of gave him the reason why you felt like that was flawed. And the whole movement in itself, why it was flawed,
right?
And you left him in a place where he like basically backed off of it. By the end of the conversation, he was like backing off of the MAGA thing.
What I got from it was that for whatever reason, he believes that from the time that Obama became president, that's when it started to sort of go in a direction where maybe we shouldn't have gone.
Right.
For whatever reason.
Right,
He didn't really get into specifics on that, but that way he was just like, when that started, it started with Obama, and it sort of continued on this sort of wrong trajectory.
But I think, like, to your point, is what he did was he's like, from that standpoint, and then he started backing it up with examples, which I think is much more tangible than going, hey, this country's gone to shit. It was like, hey, since then, it's gone to shit, but here's why. This trade deal from here led to this, and then it led to this trade deal, and then we made this trade deal, and then and then he's like, and then it led to this, and then the Afghanistan, and he's following up with example, and I go, oh, I can see that, and I can go, oh, I can see how you came to the conclusion you came to, and all that. I can't understand the like. You were saying before, it's like when people go like make it great again, if you're someone who's sort of like in a disenfranchised group, you're going, wait, what do you mean? Is that before we were all able to like fucking march or like work or have equal rights, or like, I don't understand what you mean by that. Like, that's sort of ambiguous, and it seems like most of your followers are a little racist, so now I'm like, you just sort of left to your own assumption,
right?
Like that doesn't make it a fact. It's just like, I think what you do is you take this perception that people have and they run with it because now they're allowed to make this narrative in your head. Whereas I think when you're able to sit down for an hour plus long interview that's uncensored, that is suddenly you feel there's a safe space, you're able to explain that, and so maybe that person on the other side goes, oh, I still disagree, but maybe I don't think you're racist anymore, or maybe I don't think you're an old,
you can
grumpy guy or whatever.
You can disagree but understand.
Of course, yeah. I disagree with a lot of people, but I understand how they got to the conclusion they got to, and I respect the opinion. I think for me, certainly on both candidates, I didn't even respect their opinion, and what like these interviews when they do it with these groups, what it's made me do is go, okay, I respect your opinion. I see how you got there. Whereas before, I don't feel like I had the opportunity to, because I didn't really understand where it was coming from. It was like, it almost like going back to like me giving shit to the news about the hurricane. It was like I bought into the sound bites and the clips that the news were giving me and letting that form my opinion instead of hearing it from their mouth, because I felt like I never had the opportunity to sort of like digest that.
Yep.
Yeah. So, I mean, shout out to those guys, man. I hope they keep doing that. I would love to see Kamala on that, because I think they would immediately start to take her out of the scripted thing to go. Like, I think
they would probably press her on some things, because I do feel like there was some things with Trump that like the whole, no, I think America is great and here's why, that they would press her on. And so I would like to see her on that too. But I did find listening to the podcast, in contrast to watching the debates or watching the interviews on CNN and Fox, were much more informative.
Dude, this is why mainstream media is dead. I think what you're going to see is these guys go on to the Joe Rogans and, the Flagrants and all that. What I hope doesn't happen is that podcasting has become obviously a very lucrative business for a lot of entities, and so you're getting these massive corporations that are involved in podcasting now, and so they're buying up. Like obviously Spotify gave Joe Rogan that massive deal, and then like YouTube and all that stuff. What I hope doesn't happen is that like eventually Spotify, but I'm just using them as an example, but like becomes like a left leaning, sort of how we see Fox as right leaning or CNN. But like, I hope what doesn't happen is that you see these and now you're going like, oh, every podcaster under that network banner, and it's gonna happen, right? But what I hope you get is sort of these independent thinkers still who aren't afraid to have the conversations with folks and without the bias going into it, right? Like there's so many things. I felt like these guys asked Donald shit that I would have asked, but also busted balls with him the way you bust with friends. Dude, even like getting him to talk about like how he comes up with people's nicknames and whatever. That was great. It was fucking awesome. And I'm funny. Like, and the fact that, dude, even his response to like when they go, hey man, you seem like you make jokes and you do whatever. And again, I go, wow, that was a very human response from Donald Trump, which I would have never expected. Which when he said, where they said, hey, you seem to have a good sense of humor. You're always fucking making fun of dudes, like whatever. Right. And he goes, if you've seen the shit that I've seen, you have to have a sense of humor to drive you crazy. And then he was talking about being president of the United States. He's like, yo, man, you see the shit that goes on in the world or the briefings that I get on a daily basis about all the horrible shit. He's like, I would drive myself crazy if I didn't have a sense of humor and I needed it in business. And I went, I don't know whether or not you believe that, but I can relate to that as a human being and as a person who likes to, like, I fucking disarm everything with humor, right? Like, so I go, oh, I can totally relate to going, man, I see fucked up stuff all the time, so I need some levity, and doing that, which I hope she gets a chance to do something like this, because I want to feel like I've seen her actual self in something, but before the election comes up, now I go like, okay, like I already had an opinion about Donald. This doesn't necessarily change my opinion about him. It certainly made me.
I think it clarified some things.
Yeah, that's what I feel like. I feel like it clarified. I still feel like I'm not wrong about how I felt about him, but it certainly helped clarify some of his stances on things.
Right.
I want that same opportunity to feel that way about her, and so I hope she does one where someone and again, I don't think we're going to get it, because I think she's very, they handpick who they're going to be on. I think, she's going to do her best to be like, let me do the cool shit without doing the cool shit that's going to make me look bad. Right. Like, let me, and again, I get it. She's doing the politician 101 thing.
And what do we got? About 20 something days left?
Yeah, it's right. When is the election again? It's like the first week of November, right?
November 6th, something like that.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, fuck, less than a month away. Yeah. So,
dude, how are we doing on time?
Dude, we're an hour 4 minutes in. So
fuck. All right, let's close it off, man. What you want to do? You want to do the?
You had a closing argument you wanted to make. Do you want to do that now? Or do you want to talk about this inmate choosing how he dies?
I think I want to do that the couples, man.
Or the couples?
Let's do the couples.
Let's do the couples.
All right, so this thing on IG where it showed how couples met, and it went from like 1930 to 2024, so almost 100-year range.
Okay.
And it was really cool how it did it. So like from 1930 through like a 70-year period up to like the year 2000, friends, family, co-workers, and school dominated how couples met.
Okay.
For over that 70-year
Makes
period.
sense. Like, hey, I know so-and-so who you might like. And yada.
Yep.
So it's
No,
like,
you
okay.
figure friends, right? You meet through friends.
Yeah, you meet through friends. Yep.
Definitely through family. School or co-workers, right? Like that's makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
From 2000 forward, meeting people online has drastically taken over to the point that in 2024, 60% of couples meet online.
60%.
60%. So if you so if you think about like this chart online, literally like the line is way out here, and everything else just shrinks.
What's number 2?
I don't recall.
No.
I don't recall. I'll
Although
look.
it's 2 or 3, is it still friends up there, or is like or family, or
Let me see.
or school? Because I think the school and the work shit makes a lot of sense, right? Like you're in proximity, you see the same people all the time. Sometimes it's for years. Like I can understand that element of it for sure. I can understand the friends part, right? Like you hang out with the same people all the time. Like that. The online at 60% is, I don't want to say it's surprising, but I think, I don't know. The online thing is weird for me for a couple of reasons. Is like, I think, we've talked about this on here before. People are kind of socially awkward now because we can sort of hide behind a keyboard.
Right.
And so we don't know how to talk to humans anymore. I think what I hate about the online interactions is that I get to think about every response I give you, and so does the person that you're talking to. And so you're never really getting like a genuine response, or you're never getting that the real I guess personality quirks and all the nuance that comes with talking to another human being, right? Like if I ask you a question online,
yep,
I get to marinate on that for however long I choose to, and then I get to give you whatever response I want to give you that's well thought out.
Yes.
If I see you in school or at the mall or at the grocery store or at work or what, like, and I get to talk to you.
I gotta be on the fly.
I gotta be on the fly. I gotta be able to respond. I have to like right. You have to be good looking. You have to have some type of charisma and charm. You have to have a personality to go with that. You have to like online. It's like, oh, I just have to be able to talk to you well, which isn't necessarily me, because I can sit here and do a thought, and also I can talk to my friend like, hey, this girl hit me up. How do I reply to this? Like,
right.
I don't.
They probably don't get the real version.
No, never. Right.
At least at first.
It's
right?
a disingenuous way, I think. Right. And I think what happens is you set yourself up for disappointment, right? Because you're getting this version of this person online, and then you meet in person, and like you said, eventually your true self comes out.
Right.
And then maybe that's cool, or both
not.
of you are left disappointed or not. Right.
That's right.
Like, so the online thing I think is weird.
All right. So here it is. So online, 60%, almost 61 actually. Then friends at 13. So 60%. Then the next one down is 13.
Wow. Okay. I mean, I thought it would be up there in the 2 or 3.
Friends, co-workers, bar/restaurant, and family round out the top 5. But it's like 60%, 13, 8, 4, and 4.
I am surprised by the bar restaurant thing. I don't know that anybody's ever gone to a bar restaurant hoping to meet their wife or husband. It's happened.
No, but I mean, like,
or like
I think it's the
club.
equivalent of like the club. Yeah, like
Yeah, but again, I don't go to the club thinking I'm going to meet my wife.
No, but this is relationships. It's not spouses.
Oh, okay. It's not spouses. I think you go to the bar or club thinking you're about to meet like that night.
It's just like how couples meet.
Gotcha. Okay. So it's not necessarily like stuff that leads to marriage. It's like because I don't think I've ever been to a club going like I think I'm gonna meet my future wife here.
Dude, I gotta say, man, in like the late 90s, early 2000s, I remember working with a coworker. It was this female, and her going, oh, like, you know, I gotta, you know, I met this guy, he's great, blah blah blah, and I was like, oh, like, where'd you meet him? And she goes, oh, I met him online, and I thought that was so fucking weird.
Oh yeah, of course, yeah,
so fucking weird. And so to look at this chart now, you know, 20 plus years later, and go, holy shit, like the entire world is fucking meeting.
I just
online.
assume you're ugly or you have no personality when I hear people say that now. It's not as weird to me anymore.
Yeah.
No, I know it's normal now, but I just go like you have either zero personality because to me, like, listen, I don't know. To me, you could go. I still would rather have that like human approach and talking to someone than doing that online. And so I go, and I understand that if you're socially awkward and maybe you need to hide behind the keyboard, like I get it, or. Yeah, I don't know. People use the excuse of like I don't go out or I don't do whatever, whatever. I'm like, you can literally turn everything into a pickup place, right? Like you can go to the grocery store, like whatever. And there's certain places where it's creepy, right? Like you don't want to go to the gym. I know a lot of people meet that way, but it's like that's probably a weird place to try to pick people up. But whatever. I just assume that like you have zero game, right? Like if you have to go online, like to me,
I think now it's just so normal.
No, for sure, but I still think, and maybe that's like the old school mentality to me is like, I'd rather see you, you face to face, and then be able to talk to you,
absolutely,
and then get that like I want that feeling, I want that connection, I want that. I don't want you to think about the response, right? Like if I ask you a question, I want to see the look on your face if it makes you uncomfortable,
right?
Or I want to see the look on your face if you're excited, or I want to see the look on, like I'm like I don't want to then sit there and wait for you to type behind a keyboard when you've had an hour to think about the response or 5 minutes or, you know, like, no, give me the real you. Like, I'd rather get the awkward interaction in person.
And I think what you just said there, one of the words you used was connection. I think that's the biggest thing, like for me, right? You want that connection and you don't, I don't think you get that. I don't think you can get that from, an online interaction. All right, bro. On that, tell them where they can find us.
At the Carbon Footprint Podcast on IG, on YouTube, on Facebook, TikTok at Carbon Footprint Podcast, at Carbon FP Pod on X, and then anywhere where you listen to your audio, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Audible.
Everywhere.
Yeah, everywhere, man. Just y'all know the drill.
Yo, and I want to leave y'all with this. I saw this on IG from the Library Mindset. It says, and I actually told this to my kids. So listen up, parents. If you don't know what to pursue in life right now, pursue yourself. Pursue becoming the healthiest, happiest, most healed, most present, most confident version of yourself. Then the right path will reveal itself.
Not wrong.
Not wrong.
Not wrong, man.
And as always, we appreciate you guys, and we will see you next week.
See you next week.
Peace.
Peace.